Today we're going to be talking about how to find the perimeter of different shapes. The first shape that we're going to look at is a shape that has an area grid drawn inside. So there's little squares inside the shape. The second shape we're going to look at finding the perimeter of is a shape that has missing numbers. So as you can see on the bottom right here and on the side, there are no numbers. So we need to find those numbers in order to find the perimeter. And then we're going to talk about how to use the standard algorithm for a perimeter to find the perimeter of a shape. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is the area grid. Okay, let's discuss first the perimeter definition. So the perimeter is the total length of the sides of a polygon. A polygon is a two-dimensional shape, so it's a shape that's flat on your paper: square, rectangle, triangle, trapezoid. Okay. So a polygon is a two-dimensional shape. Perimeter is the total length of all the outside, okay? So we're talking about this side, this side, this side, and this side, okay? So when we have an area grid, the first thing you're going to do is you are going to count the boxes inside to figure out what the length of each side is, okay? So for right now, we're going to start on this top side of the rectangle. So we're just going to count the boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that side of the rectangle has 6 squares. Okay. Now we're going to go to the right side. This side has 1, 2, 3 squares. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. Okay. And then the last side. 1, 2, 3 squares. Alright, so to find the perimeter, it's the total length. So what we could use is our context clues from when we have learned addition and subtraction before. And if we are looking for the total, that means that we're going to be doing addition. So we are going to add together the lengths of these sides. So the perimeter is equal to 6 plus 3 plus 6 plus 3. So now we're going to work through and solve it. 6 plus 3 is 9, okay? Plus 6 plus 3 again is 9, okay? 9 plus 9 is equal to 18. So the perimeter for that shape with our area grid is 18. Okay? We don't have any units, so we don't need to say units or feet or inches or anything like that. All right, now we're going to talk about missing numbers. So as you can see on this shape, the vertical portion is labeled with a 6. So this has a length of 6. The top little portion has a length of 3. This little side portion of our L has a length of 2. And this little part has a length of 4. But we are missing this side and this side. Okay, I just accidentally erased it. So we are missing those two sides. So what we need to do is we need to figure out how big each side is, okay? So the first step we're going to do, because imagine if we were to add these little dash marks to make it a square, okay? So we're adding in that just to make it look like a square. So what it looks like now is that we took a bite out of our square, okay? So what that means, since it's a square, is that all sides are equal. So that clue that all sides should be equal will tell us that because this side is equal to 6, this side, so we're finding the missing thing. So 2, so this part of the length right here, plus whatever this side is, should be equal to 6. So we're just talking about the whole vertical side, okay? So this section of 2 plus this missing section, we don't know what it is equal to 6. So if we write that, 2 plus something equals 6. If we use our mathematical skills, we know that 2 plus 4 equals 6, okay? So what that means is that this length of the shape right here has a value of 4, okay? So we used this algorithm to figure out what this missing piece was, the underlined section. We can go ahead and erase that, and we can just label that with a 4 because now we know that 2 plus 4 is equal to 6. So we're talking about the whole length. So now we're going to do the same thing, but for the bottom section. So now we're going to talk about, I'm going to erase the pink so it's not so confusing. Okay. So same concept. A square has equal sides. So what that means is that our top side should be equal to our bottom side because we're talking about squares. Okay. So we already know that this section right here is equal to 3. And we already know that this section here is equal to 4. So now we have to figure out what that means. So 3 plus 4 equals 7. Okay? So our missing side length is 7. Okay? So these shapes are a little bit different because you have to add more sides together. You have more numbers to add together. We are still adding all the sides together because the definition tells us that the perimeter is the total length. Okay? So now we're going to go in and we're going to write all of our numbers to make sure of what our perimeter is. Okay? So we're going to start up here. So 3 plus 2 plus 4 plus 4 plus 7 plus 6. We started with 3, so we don't need to do that again. Okay, so now we're just going to keep adding those together. 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. 4 plus 4 is equal to 8. 7 plus 6 is 13. Okay? Now we need to add together again. 5 plus 8 is 13, plus, we're going to just bring that little guy down, 13. So now you got to figure out what's 13 plus 13. And we'll start with 13 again. The answer is 26. So 13 plus 13 is 26. So our perimeter of this shape that had missing numbers is 26. Next, we're going to be talking about how to use the standard algorithm to figure out what the perimeter of a square is. So now we're going to talk about the standard algorithms of a square. Okay, so we're finding out the perimeter. Remember, the definition says it's the total length of all the sides of a polygon. Okay, so a polygon is just a two-dimensional shape. All right. So now we have this square, and it says 5 feet by 5 feet. Okay. I know that's feet because it says FT, and that is the abbreviation for feet. Okay. Now you'll see that we don't have the other sides labeled. We can go ahead and safely assume that because this is a square, and we know it's a square because the length, so the length of the top part and the horizontal part, and then the length of the vertical part of the shape are equal. If they were different, then it would probably be a rectangle, right? But since we're talking about a square, these sides are equal. So we can assume that the other two sides are also 5 feet. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use our standard algorithm. Our standard algorithm, I'm going to write it down for you, is what we've been doing here. So we did use the standard algorithm here. We just didn't write it as a formula. A formula is a group of letters that you add together and you replace those letters with numbers. So that's going to be something that we are going to talk about a lot this year, getting you ready for 6th grade. Okay. So the standard algorithm for the perimeter is length plus width plus length plus width. Okay. Length, width, length, width. So as you can see, we've been doing that already. We just didn't write out the formula. Okay, so now we're going to plug in those numbers. It is a square, so we can start here. So length is 5, width is 5, length is 5, and width is 5. Okay, so now we're just going to add them together. 5 plus 5 equals 10, The other 5 plus 5 equals 10. I use these little shapes so that way I can keep track of the numbers that I have already added together. That's going to be a very important step when we start talking about multi-step math problems. Okay? We need to finish adding. 10 plus 10 is 20. But what we need to make sure we do, because this side is labeled, because the sides are labeled with feet, which is a unit of measure, right? Like a foot on a ruler, okay? We need to also label our answer feet. So our perimeter of this shape is 20 feet because we added 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. And again, on this example and this example, so on example 1 and example 2, we don't have the numbers labeled with a unit of measure. It doesn't say feet, it doesn't say inches, it doesn't say anything like that. So you don't need to label the answer. You are okay just writing the answer after you do the addition. But whenever you have a shape that is labeled with a unit of measure, feet, inches, centimeters, meters, yards, okay, those are things we're going to talk about this year also. But whenever they are labeled with a unit of measure, you must label your answer with the unit of measure too. So that is why I wrote 20 feet. Okay,